At Golden Harvest, we know local results start with local expertise.
Hey, Bob.
Like knowing that diner on Main Street has the best slice of pie, or knowing the matchup every Friday night. It takes someone who truly knows your acres and will be there every step of the way to make sure you see results. Learn more at goldenharvestseeds.com.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the Zoom today, Dr. Lisa Taylor, Superintendent of Heyworth Schools. Good morning, Dr. Taylor. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
For sure. Thanks for making time for us. And I'll tell you what, I didn't get to catch you in August, and now here we are at the end of September. We're almost 6 weeks into the new school year. How are things going in Heyworth?
Well, it has been fast and furious here. So as you know, once school starts and you have all those back to school nights and then sports kick in and we have several teams, football's doing well, junior high softball went to state and volleyball's doing well. So it's just been go, go, go for us.
Man, and it's funny. It'll be like a flurry of a start, and then you'll kind of hit that winter doldrums where it's like, we're waiting on Christmas break after Thanksgiving, and then we get through Christmas break, and then we're waiting on the weather to turn. And then we get to tax day, maybe April 15th. And it's like a flash to the finish, So
you feel like you're constantly counting down school years, right? And you do measure them by all of those big things throughout the year. I'm sure parents do too, but I'm like, I feel like I've been doing this my entire career.
Yep, for sure. For sure. Well, I'll tell you what, it's been an exciting start to the school year for you and your district. You mentioned all the success of your sports programs. And I think one of the big things for your district is to finally have some stability, pun intended, on your football field, and to have a surface where you can play on and not have to worry about it caving in and all those things. How about the new turf on your football field?
Yeah, the turf came out of the infrastructure project, obviously, because drainage and concrete heaving and fences heaving and tripping hazards, all the safety issues were what really needed to be addressed. And as bids came in, it was only a couple 100,000 more to go with turf. And so that made sense for us. And so we had our first home game with turf Friday night. We had the biggest crowd I've ever seen, and we always have big crowds, but it was one of those where we were kind of joking as administrators, we're like, we hope nothing happens because we can't see anything. I mean, you were kind of shoulder to shoulder, even standing out, on the paved areas. And so it was just a great night for football, and we were able to dedicate our field to our longest serving coach. So that was really cool. And of course, brought in more people too.
Shows the community support that your school has, I think.
Yeah. And it's always like that, parking is always, kind of an issue. You'll see cars parked all over town here, but it was just a lot of players and teams. And we usually have, homecoming, you have reunions and that sort of thing, but there were a lot for this game too. So it was just nice to meet people I hadn't met and to recognize Mike Law and his family. We hosted a tailgate for them. So it was just one of those, okay, this was all worth it. And this is great for our community.
Very good. Very good. And of course, homecoming is next week, Dr. Taylor. And even though the field itself is done, there's some things going on around it that are not quite finished up. As you get ready for homecoming, are we going to see a finish to those projects?
Yeah, we are hoping so. When I pulled in this morning, it looks like our new video board is probably 75% up. So after the initial project, and it came in really under what we had planned for the budget, we went ahead and added the video scoreboard, and we had to move our old storage shed to rearrange field events. And so we have a new storage shed that's up. It just has some graphics and some finishing touches. So we should have a video board and storage shed and be able to move all that equipment in there for next week's game.
Very good. Look forward to that. Homecoming next week, Dr. Taylor. Let's dive into that a little bit. Tell me about homecoming.
Of course, for every community, it's just so many traditions. And so it's fun to see, and it's just fun to be a part of, watching the students and staff dress up every day. And the elementary kids get into it too. They're probably more enthusiastic. But there's events, there's parades, there's bonfires, right? And then the dance and all of that. So that's probably the most exhausting week for high school staff. And they always say, why don't we get the Monday after homecoming off? Because everybody just needs to recover.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those fun things, and seeing everybody come back home and class, reunions, taking tours through our buildings, and just how much things have changed in the past few years with our buildings and now our field too. It's just fun to hear their comments too.
Yeah, for sure. Are you getting into the dress up days and all of that yourself this year?
No, I'm usually pretty boring, and don't ask me what the dress up days are because I don't even know. But
Well, that's why I asked if you were getting into it this year. I didn't want to put you on the spot like that. So
no, I'm not usually, even as I was high school principal for a short little period. I think one day my secretary, I think I've been in superintendent land for too long. I'm like, that's not fun for me, having to figure out what I'm going to wear and do all that.
You got your rotation and you're sticking to it.
That's exactly right. I'm
You
a
and-
creature of habit.
You and me both. Very good. So with homecoming in Heyworth, parade on Friday.
Ours is on Thursday,
You do a
and then
parade on
it's followed
Thursday?
by, we've talked about moving it, and I know they're considering it for next year. So it's Thursday, and then there's a bonfire after, and then they kind of do the coronation on the field after that. So it's a little bit different than what I was used to, but it's the tradition here, and it's just people love it, and everybody comes out.
It's one of those things. It's for a lot of people, like they prefer that Friday homecoming parade, but for folks in Heyworth, they probably don't know any different. It's just it's Thursday,
this
and
is
it's
what
always
they've
been that
done.
way. Yeah. So,
Yep.
interesting. So homecoming next week. Look forward to it, and of course that new scoreboard, I'll tell you, should be quite the asset for homecoming. You'll probably be able to maybe highlight some of the things that have gone on at the in the parade, or not the parade, but the events and such the week before. It's a video board, right?
Yeah, it's a video board, and we do have one in our gym. So luckily, we have people who are already trained and know how to use it. We are adding a new class for students. Deer Creek Mackinac has one where kids are kind of certified trainers in this Daktronics board and learn a lot about it. And they create a lot of the content and then publish it. And we actually pay them as student workers at games. So it's kind of a work-based learning piece too, an opportunity for kids. And we're excited about getting that up and going.
Cool. Look forward to it. Yeah, it's a great it's a great thing to implement into your classrooms and your curriculum for kids to kind of learn that side of sports management or event management, those sorts of things. That's a great little.
And so many scholarship opportunities that we weren't aware of originally, because
Oh, really?
of course colleges are wanting kids to manage these boards for them too, right? And they have them in multiple places. So I just think it's one of those skills that kids love, and our teachers are great, right? But the kids just come up with stuff that you're like, wow, these are high school kids doing this kind of thing.
And it's second nature to them. They can do it so easy,
I know. And I'm over here trying to figure out how to, unlock my phone.
The more I got to tell you this. So we're starting in on some digital media things, and we got a new camera yesterday, and I've got two guys that work with me that are much younger than I am. I'll leave it at that. And I have realized, Dr. Taylor, I am at a point in my life where I am now a stranger to the technology you put in front of me, and it is exhausting to think about. So
I know. And I was a computer teacher, and, sometimes, hopefully not in my career because I don't have that much left, but, they go back to the classroom, and I'm like, there's no way. Like, I would have to change professions. I can't go and teach today's kids about technology. And I think I'm, somewhat savvy for a superintendent, but I'm not at that level.
I used to work in electronics, like with those things, and now all of a sudden I'm looking at something, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm looking at anymore. So it is terrible. I hate that I'm at that point in life, but here we are. So, but it's nice to have the young people around you that can help you with it. So I don't even remember what we were talking about.
Video board.
That's what it was. Yeah. Anyways, homecoming, video board, new football field. I feel like we missed something else that was going on. Kind of up to this point already happened in the district, or am I not remembering that right?
Well, junior high girls went to state for softball, so we had to change our calendar and have a school improvement day last Friday. We did get knocked out in the first round by a really tough undefeated team from Westville, but again, the community pride, the signs all the way to Bloomington as, states in normal, and just seeing everybody come out and cheer our girls on. And we had a huge student section at the game and fan buses. And so it's just exciting. Our softball program has been to state more times than I can count here in junior high and high school, but I think kudos to those coaches. They've been here a long time and have just built a program that continues to be competitive at the highest levels.
Sure, sure. Well, I'll tell you what, I know your Board of Education is doing some things, Dr. Taylor. Let's take a break before we start in on that. Let's break and come back and dive into those things. What's the best way for folks to keep up with all things Heyworth schools?
Yeah, our website, husd4.org, and it will be updated October 1st. So check it out, and also check us out on Facebook.
That is Dr. Lisa Taylor, Superintendent of Heyworth Schools, my guest on the Zoom. More to come with Dr. Taylor on the morning show.
WHOW.
ILFB.org. Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and Chicago wheat all slightly higher. December corn up 1 1/4, 425.5. March corn 442 3/4, up 1 3/4. May corn 451 3/4, up 1 1/2. November beans up 4, 10.13. January beans 10.32.5, up 4, and March beans also up 4. 10.48 3/4. December Chicago wheat 522 1/4, up 2 3/4. March wheat up 2 1/2, 540.5. October bean meal 268.40, down 3.30. October bean oil 49.53, up 24 cents. Livestock trade September feeders 365.57, up 20 cents. October live cattle down $1.65, 232.40, and October lean hogs 99.60, up 17 cents. Energy market November crude oil 64.17, down 82 cents.
It's time to think farm safety. Falls from high places or on slippery ground account for 1/4 of all farm accidents every year. Stay on your feet by wearing safety shoes, by cleaning off footwear before climbing ladders, and by keeping all ladders in good repair.
Today and every day in 2025, think and practice safety first.
For all your agronomy, grain, turf, fuel, and propane needs, contact Evergreen FS, your one local supplier.
A sports injury takes the fun out of sports any time of year. Hi, I'm Paul Scarron, CEO of Warner Hospital and Health Services in Clinton. All of our PT folks are trained in lots of specialties, just like a bigger facility, to get you back in the game from a sports injury, or if you're in need of any other physical therapy your doctor prescribes. We offer quality, compassionate care close to home, so don't go out of town. Come see us at the Warner Hospital and Health Services Physical Therapy Department, and we'll get you back in the game.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the Zoom, I guess I should say, is Dr. Lisa Taylor, Superintendent of Heyworth Schools. And Dr. Taylor, it's budget time. How are things looking in the Heyworth budget this year?
Yeah, I presented a tentative budget in August, and then the board adopted it last week. And, there's some new things in there with the sales tax that's coming in from McLean County. But really, besides that, nothing major. We're spending down on this construction project. We do have a small surplus in open funds, but some funds that are needing some help. So we're going to be transferring some reserves from working cash, our transportation fund, and then the IMRF fund. And so as transportation costs keep going up, we're working on, how do we combat some of those things and make sure we're ensuring safe walking routes and that sort of things. But all in all, it looked very good. And then kind of last minute budget related, we were notified a couple months ago by a potential donor about a, potential donor for ag programs. And that ended up being the board approved an estimated $750,000 donation to completely renovate our 6,000 square feet of ag space. So that's going to be amazing for kids.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So what will that mean? I mean, in terms of just what you're going to be doing with those dollars, is it like an expansion of the classroom, or what do you hope to do there?
Yeah, so Sullivan Contractors came out, and they'll be paid directly, but basically, everything from all new doors and windows and a renovated bathroom to kind of finishing off painting everything, new HVAC, tuck pointing of the building. I mean, I think it's just going to be so different for our kids. That's probably the most outdated building and been in the need of the most work. On our last year's health, life, safety audit, they said, instead of like writing up everything, they said, you need to talk to your architects. So, so it was really good timing to be approached about this, and just one of those things. We have lots of ideas for the future. We have a nice greenhouse, so we're like, maybe we could have some, farm to table dinners for the community, and add a kitchen out there. So I think it just gives us such a boost and a head start in that area, and it's just going to be great space for kids. They love the program.
Yeah, and your FFA program is very strong, if I remember right.
Yeah, it is. And it has been for years. And, our kids get some exposure in junior high too. We try to, for a small district, sometimes it's hard to offer a big variety of electives, but we make sure they get some access to that and drama and, arts and musics, all of those things in junior high.
Sure. You mentioned that piece of revenue from the McLean County sales tax. What will that mean for Heyworth schools or for Heyworth schools? Yeah, Heyworth schools. Sorry. I don't know what I'm talking about this morning.
No, you're good. So we we estimate it to be about 750,000. And I think our first deposit should be this much. So we want to take some time and see what really comes in, first of all. And then the board will be conducting some planning sessions we've got a buildings and grounds committee, but we're also coming up on our 10-year master facilities planning. And so obviously we need to do some things like HVAC and roofs and that sort of thing, but also plan for long-term. And as this community here is looking at more residential development and growing the community, the school's got to, work with them. So we're going to have a joint board meeting and talk about that, and then kick off some planning, and facilities tax will make a huge difference there.
Yeah, for sure. And I know with those funds, there's a lot of school districts make the commitment for abatement, tax abatement, and those sorts of things. Is that on the table at all for Heyworth schools?
Yeah, definitely. That's one that we will be considering. We did go ahead and pay for our counselors this year. So that really is 300,000 less coming out of our normal revenue streams. So kind of offsetting some of that this year, since we didn't really know how much to abate and how much will come in this year. But those are the types of decisions that'll be made for long term, along with we're currently in the middle of analyzing how are we doing with counselors compared to similar sized districts, because counselor safety, that is there's not a lot of personnel you can pay with that tax, but that is one of them. So we're going to look closely at that to make some recommendations too.
I see. When it comes to the budget, Dr. Taylor, for Heyworth schools, what are the primary sources of income? Like, where do you see the most revenue flow from?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest part is always property tax, $6 million ish. And so for us, we get a small amount of federal grants, but it's really property tax and then state funding. And so the board has really worked hard. You don't feel it in these economic times with our assessed values jumping. But, when I got here, we had the highest school district property tax rate in 16 in McLean County. And now we have the lowest. Now you talk to a taxpayer and they're like, I'm not seeing that, right? My tax, because the home values just keep jumping so much. But we're softening that impact. It would be a lot worse. When you're going from $5.60 to less than $5, it's a significant accomplishment, but it doesn't always, feel like it, just with everything else that complicates property taxes and the other governing bodies.
Yeah. Well, you talked about that facilities evaluation, and then I kind of want you to tie in your health, life, safety assessment. How about just looking ahead at your facilities and potentially where you see the most need coming out of that from?
Sure. So luckily, due to the donor, we're going to save 750 grand that, we would have shifted towards the ag shop. But I know some of the pieces we'll be looking at is our junior high HVAC system, and our geothermal at the elementary is getting to the point where some of those major pieces are going to have to be replaced. And those are never fun projects to do because they're not pretty, but you have to do them.
Yeah.
We have a few roofs left to repair. I don't see, at least not in the next 5 years in my career here, a need for major expansion of buildings. But if the village does start to have significant residential development, that will be something maybe in that 5 to 10 year range that the board has to look at.
Well, you know what you're going to have to do now then. You're going to have to turf baseball and softball. You're going to have to do some more with that football facility to make it top notch. You're just going to have to do some of those things, I think.
Please, not in my career. There's been enough projects.
Yeah, you take it on a lot. Now that I think about about it, you have taken on a lot over there in Heyworth in your time. But
Yeah, it's fun work. It really is, but it's also stressful work. People they see the finished product and they see what you hear on social media, which is like 90% false.
no way.
I know, but they don't see the late nights and let me try to interpret this concrete report and make sure it's, meeting all the I mean, it's one of those things that we're excited about it, but me and the director of buildings and grounds will be like, thank you, this is done.
Sure. Well, I've got a few minutes yet with you, Dr. Taylor. Anything else your board is working on, taking up lately? Anything they're talking about?
Yeah, so this is our third year we implemented some school improvement recommendations. So smaller class sizes in K2. We added a section. So those are all about 15 kids. We added certified teachers to deliver interventions, extra help for kids who are struggling. And so we are in the process of kind of evaluating all those things and saying, is this working or not? And do we need to expand those? So do we need to take that into third, fourth, fifth, sixth, et cetera? So this is a big year for that. Those are costly decisions, but we're seeing some great results in early literacy and reading levels of our kids. And so I think that's, an investment worth making, but we'll see. The board gets to decide that.
Maybe a topic for next month, but how much is ESL stuff taking over your some of your staff and what they're doing?
We don't have a large ESL population. Our special ed population has grown some, and that has become a very needy area, especially with alternative placements that can cost a couple $100,000 a year per kid.
Yeah, Mr.
So
Goble
that's
was
why
telling
we
me about
were.
that.
Yeah, that's why we were over budget last year, and we'll be talking about that with the audit next month. So.
Yeah. Boy, we should talk about that sometime. I think that's a piece of the district budget that a lot of people don't see, and it really does impact a lot of things. We should talk about maybe how that works. But in the meantime, Dr. Taylor, one more time, how do folks learn about all things Heyworth Schools?
Yeah, check us out on Facebook. Both schools and the district have a very active Facebook, and also our website is updating October 1st, and that's HUSD4.org.
Hey, we'll talk about that maybe next month. That's Dr. Lisa Taylor, Superintendent of Heyworth Schools, my guest on the Zoom. Network News on the way.
WHOW.